Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 3rd September 2025. So let's get started with our discussion guys and let us see the first article. Look at the title. Title says Garners can't sit on bills endlessly, says Supreme Court judges. So what is this article talking about? Is it a new article? It is a very old article. So this article is talking about powers of governor, right? So this article is talking about bill passing power of a governor. And which article is talking about this powers of governor regarding passage of bills and giving of assent? Yes, Article 200 and Article 201 talks about this powers of governor. Okay. So if you see this article, what it is talking about exactly. So what is the issue that why it is in news? Any idea? So this is in news because of powers of governor in which state? Yes, in Tamil Nadu. What happened in this Tamil Nadu? So what happened in this Tamil Nadu in the recent past? Okay, in Tamil Nadu state government want to pass 10 important bills. And after passing those bills in the house, they went to governor for assent. But what this governor said? He said nothing and he's not taking any step regarding forwarding of this bill. So because of this, what happened? The second time also Tamil Nadu government passed this bill in the house, and after passing in the house and again went to governor and again the same thing. So because of this, Tamil Nadu government went to Supreme Court regarding this. What are these powers of governor? So what can he do, and within how much time limit the governor has to give assent? So these are the questions asked by this Tamil Nadu state government to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court also gave the judgment. Okay, so what is that judgment? They gave the time limit and they said one more point, if the same bills had been repassed in this houses and now that bill will be like a money bill. So in this money bill, governor cannot withhold the bill. He have to give the assent. So these are the two important points the Supreme Court said. Again, the same thing which is repeated in this article as well. So this article is talking about especially Article 200 and as well as Article 201. The first area that you have to focus. And second one is you have to see about what are the powers of governor in passing of bills, and next you have to see what is the time frame which is given by Supreme Court in the recent judgment, because that will become a prelims based statement in your prelims case. Okay, so these are the three areas that you have to focus. And in polity, especially in prelims, there are just 12 themes on which the question is repeatedly asking in your UPSC prelim case. So from this 12 themes, you will be getting minimum 15 to 17 questions every year. So if you prepare that 12 themes, then you can easily do at least 15 out of 17 questions that will come. And find out which are those 12 themes. So one theme here is union executive in that. Okay, that includes president and COM, that is Union Council of Ministers, etc. And one more area they mainly focused is governor. And always in polity they will be giving questions in a comparative base. They will compare president and as well as governor. In that format they'll give the question. So try to prepare your notes accordingly. So before making your short notes, so please see those PYQs from 2013 to 2025 and find out which are those 12 themes where UPSC is repeatedly asking the question, and accordingly try to make your notes. Then your notes will be according to UPSC. Okay, it is not according to you, it will be according to UPSC, so that you can clear this examination. So that is the one trick and tip that you can follow for making of notes. Okay, now let us see the context. So Supreme Court of India has held that governors cannot sit on bills indefinitely. That means they said that there is no pocket veto for this governor. So normally in president topic, you will be studying about different types of vetoes. What are the different types of vetoes? How many types of vetoes we have? Normally 4 types. But in Indian Prime Minister, there is no qualified veto, but in American president they have this qualified veto. So you have to see three different types of vetoes which are mainly exercised by this president in India. And next one is, he said that whenever the delaying of action is happening from this governor side, that will disturb democracy and as well as overall functioning of this legislature in that state. So because of this, Supreme Court directly said that here governor cannot sit more on this bill, cannot withhold this bill for the long time. And if you see the details, it says that court analyzed these two articles, as you said, that is Article 200 and as well as Article 201, which talks about the powers of governor. And next one here is indefinite delay by governors. It weakens the democracy because it will render the people's will dysfunction. That means whatever the important things that changes that need for the proper service delivery for the people, that we are not going to pass if we are having this withholding of bills by the governor. And it will also leads to negating of legislative process. It will delay this legislative process, that is nothing but law making process. And this one is the constitution mainly uses this frame called as soon as possible. So in our constitution, whenever we are talking about the time which is taken by this governor, in our constitution they gave this word, that is as soon as possible. So here that the meaning of this as soon as possible which is given in our constitution is they should not use this pocket veto. Okay. And here if you see what is the judgment of the Supreme Court, governors they have to act within a prescribed time limit. So if there is an advice which is given by this Council of Ministers, within 1 month they have to give this assent to this bill. If not, they cannot withhold this bill for more than 3 months of time. That's the thing which mainly said by the Supreme Court. And next one here is what is the impact of this ruling. So because of this ruling of this Supreme Court, we can curb misuse of gubernatorial powers, that is nothing but the power of governor. And next one here is it can also prevent appointed heads from becoming obstacles for the making of law or legislation process. And next one you have to remember here is it also sets a judicial precedent for all Indian states, especially where similar delays have been occurred. Not only in the state of Tamil Nadu, in the states where non-BJP government which is in power at the state level. So in those states we have this issue between this governor and as well as government, state government. Why? Because governor is nothing but the center appoints that governor, right? So that is nothing but central will try to exercise its own power in the states. So here, if central government is having one political party in power, in the states if there are other political parties in power, always we can see this kind of tussle. So whenever Supreme Court is giving this kind of judgment, then it will be also helpful for other states which are also facing this kind of problem, not only in this Tamil Nadu. Okay, so that is the thing. So here we are going to strengthen our mechanism for judicial oversight, and we can also protect executive overreach, and also we can preserve democratic norms. And these are certain keywords that you have to use in your answer: democratic norms, executive overreach. Okay, and one more word you can say is obstacles to legislation and misuse of gubernatorial powers. So these are certain kinds of keywords that you have to write in your answer so that you can get more marks. Okay. Yeah, now let us see the next article, guys. See the title. So what is this image is about? Some military people, they are doing certain kind of operation. Yes. So actually it is about joint military exercise. And the name of the joint military exercise is Maitri in Meghalaya state. So actually this is one exercise, it is between India and Thailand. Please make a note. So this year we are celebrating 14th edition of this exercise Maitri, and this is a joint military exercise between India and Thailand, and it is from September 1st to September 14th in which state? Meghalaya state. So if you see some facts regarding this exercise, first important point that you have to remember is between which country? It is between India and Thailand. And again in our defense we have Army, Navy and Air Force and Coast Guard, right? So it is between military, that is Army people are participating in this exercise. So here how you can get a question here is, UPSC can ask a pair based question here. On one side they'll give you the names of this exercise. On one side they can give the countries in between, And next you have to, and they also give you what is the important aim of that operation. Actually this exercise, it is focusing on counter terrorism. Okay, like that you will be getting questions and they may give like 3 or 4 pairs and they'll ask you to identify correct or incorrect. For example, they may ask 1 pair is correct, 2 pair is correct, 3 pairs is correct, or all pairs are correct, or else incorrect. 1 pair is incorrect, 2 pairs are incorrect, 3 pairs are incorrect, and 4 pairs are incorrect. So this is the toughest question of this UPSC prelims format. Okay, and this exercise will enable the two sides to share their best practices in tactics, techniques, and procedure to conduct this joint operation, and is especially focusing on counter-terrorism, guys. After a gap of 5 years, again we are doing this exercise. So because of this, it is very, very important this year. Okay, see this next article, guys. As death toll passes 1400, another earthquake hits an already fragile Afghanistan. So yesterday itself we discussed that earthquake happened, and again before completion of that rescue and relief operation, one more earthquake hit that same area. That means it is having now dual burden. Okay, so here there is also one more article in our editorial page which is related to this Afghanistan's earthquake. And in yesterday's class we discussed about what are the mitigation measures we have to take. So can anyone tell me what kind of mitigation measures we can take to decrease loss of life and as well as property because of this earthquakes? Anyone? What is the first point that we discussed in yesterday's class? Yesterday's class, first point in this mitigation measures. Very good memory. I said we have to follow building codes. Yes or no? Earthquake resilient buildings we need. Yes? So on that point itself, there is one editorial in today's page. I'll show you that later. Okay? So remember here what you have to see. You have to see about what is earthquake, what are these earthquake waves or seismic waves types, that is body waves and surface waves. In body waves we have P and S waves, and in surface wave we have Love waves and Rayleigh waves. And you have to see about differences between this primary wave and secondary wave, and you have to see what is the impact of earthquake and what are the causes of this earthquake and types of earthquake. And next you have to see what are the mitigation measures that we have to take, because this article is important from your geography and as well as disaster management. Because of this earthquake, it leads to the loss of lots of lives, loss of property, loss of infrastructure, whatever it may be. So because of this article we have to see from disaster management. Okay, so I'll show you that article later on. So see this article, guys. India sets eyes on $1 trillion semiconductor market. Prime Minister promises faster approvals. So what is this article talking about? This article is talking about semiconductor industry in India. So is there any update regarding the semiconductor manufacturing in India? Now what is that? So recently India gave permission for 4 semiconductor plants. In which states? AP, Odisha and Punjab, right? So here why we need the semiconductors? Is that much useful or that much important for any country? Why we use the semiconductors and where we can use the semiconductors? Especially in electronics and automobiles will use this semiconductors. And nowadays because of increasing of science and technology, there is increased use of this electronic goods is happening, right? So because of this, we need to have this semiconductor industry in India. So as of now, we didn't focus much on the semiconductors, and we used to import from other countries like Korea and as well as China. But now what is happening? Trade disruption is happening across the world, and we are focusing on Atmanirbhar, that is nothing but self-reliance, or we have to produce our things in our country, right? So because of this is the one step forward regarding the semiconductor industry in India. And now you guys tell me from which subject it is important. It is important from your economy from GS paper 3 and as well as science and technology. From science and technology you have to see the applications of the semiconductors, in which areas that we are using the semiconductors. Okay. So now let us see the context. India is ambitiously targeting a major share in the semiconductor industry by 2030. And India's ambition is we have to reach $1 trillion global semiconductor market by 2030. See the year. How many years from now? Exactly 5 years from now. Do we have any targets that we have to reach by 2030 apart from the semiconductors? SDG, that is Sustainable Development Goals. Next. Uh, Targets that we have to reach by 2030. What about elimination of sickle cell anemia, malaria? Okay, see what are the targets of elimination of malaria in India and as well as elimination of sickle cell in India. And you have to see are there any other targets that we have to reach by 2030. So this years will play a very, very important role. Because whenever you're writing any answer regarding that, so if you're writing this kind of things, then it will give a value to your answer. That too in introduction, if you're writing those, then that will create a very good impression on this examiner and they will give at least half or 1 mark more. That gaining of half or 1 mark in every answer is very, very important. For that, you have to add this kind of value addition in your answers, guys. Okay, so our Prime Minister, he promised faster approvals for industry projects. Especially, they want to focus on improved manufacturing of semiconductors and as well as improved research and development in the semiconductors and as well as improvement of designs in the semiconductors. Especially these three areas that we are focusing now: manufacturing, research and development, and as well as designs. And next, if you see the details, it says that India's domestic semiconductor market, it is going to grow from $38 billion in 2023 to 100 or 110 billion dollars by 2030. And we are going to reach the market size of $1 trillion by 2030. So this is one expectations that our government is having and we have to wait and watch like whether we are going to reach this target or not. If you are reaching target, again you have to say why we reached the target. If we had not reached the target, again we have to say why we didn't and what measures we can take in the future. So in this way you have to always think in both positives and as well as negative manner. Don't always be positive because in your answers or in your questions you will get questions like what are the challenges we have, why we didn't reach. So comment, analyze. So in that type of questions you have to write both negatives and as well as positives. So if there is any topic in news, try to read or try to analyze from both positives and negatives case. Don't always be in one way. So always you have to say in multi-dimensional manner. Everything that you have to think from 360 degrees. If it happens, why? If it is going like that, why it is happening? So what is the reason behind it? Nothing will happen without any reason. So you have to trace what is the reason behind it. Okay. And now this article is saying that yes, why our government is very much strong that we are going to reach this $1 trillion economy in this semiconductor, because our government already had secured good investments in this semiconductor industry and even we had approved lots of fabrication and as well as assembly units, and even we launched R&D centers in this major areas like Noida and Bangalore. And not only that, multiple global and as well as domestic firms like Micron, Tata Electronics, CG Power, they are also establishing their manufacturing and as well as test facilities in India. So because of this, in future, we can leverage a lot from this semiconductor industry. And why India is pursuing this, why India is focusing on the semiconductors now? The reason here is we have to focus on self-sufficiency or Atmanirbhar in the semiconductor industry. So because of this, we can also enhance our economic resilience and as well as we can also improve our technology security. And if there are any global supply chain disruptions, we can withstand over this because we are learning a lot from India-US tariffs, right? So here we have to maintain our own things. We have to be stable from our countryside and we have to focus on the domestic manufacturing. So for that, these are the steps which are mainly taken by the government now. And next one here is we want to use our young technology workforce. As you all know that every year how many students they complete this engineering and how many are getting into the jobs? Very less, right? So the number of students who are completing this graduation to this number of students who are entering into this economic workforce, it is very, very less. So because of this, if you want to tap that potential, we can improve this manufacturing units, because manufacturing units, they will create lots of employment opportunities. So for that, government is trying to tap our demographic dividend, and especially we can tap this new young energy in this making and designing of electronic chips. And next one here is, already government came up with a scheme called as PLI scheme, and even government is trying to uh, ease this certification and as well as permission process. So because of this, we can expect more number of manufacturing units soon in our country. And this one here is, even there is lots of demands from this local industries like automobiles and consumer electronics, telecoms and renewable energies. So these sectors, they won't work without the semiconductors. We need that. So there is a very huge demand from these sectors now because they are emerging sectors. They are like sunrise industries in our country. So because of this, yes, we can have a huge potential from this. And what is the impact of this statement which is given by our Prime Minister? So first one here is, we can go for transformation of our industries. How we can go for transformation? We can go for local manufacturing. If you are manufacturing in our country, obviously the cost will be less, because if you are importing from other countries, we have to pay them in the dollars and we don't have this bargaining power, right? So if you are producing in our country, obviously we can cut the cost and we can boost the production, we can contribute to our economy, and we can improve our employment opportunities. And even if you want to have any updates, it is very easy to have that updates in our country if they are in our hands. If we are dependent on other countries hands, so can we give any suggestions like I want in this way, so give in this way or send in this way? So even if we are telling all those things, sometimes that technology cannot match with what exactly we want. So here for that, yes, we need to have our own units. And next one here is economic growth, especially this step will be helpful for improving of our GDP contribution. And next one here is, we can also go for global integration. That is nothing but whenever we are starting our production and whenever we are improving our production, now we can start exporting to other countries so that we can have good connections with other countries and we can improve the bilateral relations with other countries. And next one here is, we can also enhance our R&D, that is research and development, and as well as we can also improve our technology innovation, whatever it may be. So these are some impacts of this statement which made by the Prime Minister. So whenever President or Prime Minister or External Affairs Minister, Defense Minister, whatever it may be, the important personalities, if they are giving any statements, that will be very important, and that directly that statement can become a mains question, guys. So you have to analyze that kind of statements given by our delegates very clearly. Why they said, what is the reason behind it? So because of that statement, is there any impact in the future? How it is going to have impact on the society? So which people will be getting benefited, like rich or middle class or poor or farmers? So you have to analyze from that point of view, because understanding our economy, understanding our society is very important. It is the one of the basic aspect of an UPSC aspirant. So you have to know that. Okay. Now let us see the next article. See the title, guys. Banking industry plays a key role in India's growth story, says President. Okay, have you studied about this banking? Yes? Okay. So in which subject you have seen this banking topic, guys? Economy. Okay, now tell me, what are the advantages of banks, or what are the services we can get from these banks? Okay, we can get credit. Next, with this credit, what can we do? We can get loans or credits. So with this, we can start our business. We can go for starting of some any enterprises, or we can become an entrepreneur. Next, other services what the banks will provide you apart from loans. Huh? So what are the services of banks? Huh? Yes, transactions. Nowadays we have cashless economy, right? Are you taking cash along with you if you want to purchase anything? Just you'll carry your mobile phone. In your mobile phone, you'll be having 2 to 3 apps like Paytm or Google Pay or Phone Pay, like that. And even WhatsApp transactions are also possible nowadays, so that the transactions become very easy. And even it is very easy to send or transfer the money from one account to another account, even foreign accounts. Yes. that these banks made transaction very easy. And next, hmm? Yes, you can also deposit your money in the bank. So if you are lending money to anyone at an interest rate, whatever it may be, 2 rupees or 3 rupees or 4 rupees or 5 rupees, we don't know whether that person will going to give you back. Yes or no, we don't know whether you'll be getting interest every month or not. Sometimes it may not happen. So because of this, if you are depositing in your money in your bank, then it will be safe and every month you will be getting interest. And even you can draw the lump sum amount whenever you are in need. So that kind of service that you'll get. And apart from that, okay, how do you get your scholarship? In your BTech or in your intermediate at that time. So government will be directly giving or transferring money into your bank accounts only, no? So especially for promotion of education also through these scholarships, banking plays a very important role, yes or no? And not only that, government is implementing lots of schemes now, and government is giving cash transfers also. So how they are doing? Again through bank accounts. Yes. So here banks are providing lots of services that will be very much helpful for our economic growth. That is the thing which mainly said by our president. So here what is your work? You have to see about what are the advantages or what are the services which are provided by the banks, along with examples and data that you have to collect. And apart from that, you have to see what are the challenges now faced by banking sector. So we have increase in NPAs. So people are taking loans, but they're not repaying it back. That leads to this NPAs. And next, in rural areas, we don't have that much widespread of banks compared to the of urban areas. Concentration of banks is more in urban areas compared to rural areas. And next, what are other problems faced by the banks? So see those challenges along with examples. And for these challenges, you have to suggest even some measures. Like how can we overcome these challenges, guys? So I'll give you this as your main practice question today. Or else you won't do that work, I know. So now let us see the context here. India's president has underscored that banking industry is pivotal in our nation's economic growth. And because of this banking only, that led to the driving of our financial inclusion. So recently government came up with this PM Jandan Yojana scheme. So in that Jandan Yojana scheme, government what it did, it provided bank accounts, that is nothing but zero bank accounts, right? Okay, so because of this, that led to inclusion of finance. That is nothing but that led to the increasing of digitalization, digital money usage, decreased or increased this cashless economy in our country. And here this article is saying that because of this banks only, that led to increased investments, and even that will provide credit or loans to this business and individuals, and that will also leads to improvement of infrastructure. So if any person who want to go for public private partnership, or privately if they want to run any business, or if they want to come up with any contracting of government service or laying of roads, whatever it may be, so they'll go to bank and they'll get the loans. They'll not use their money in their home, right? So here that will provide huge investments in our country, that will helpful for public spending. And this one here is they act as even custodians of wealth and even facilitators of digital payments. If there is no bank, can we go for using of this phone pay or Google Pay or Paytm, whatever it may be? No. And this one here is they're also providing financial services like insurance they can provide, and even micro loans, etc. And this one here is our government came up with this PM Jandan Yojana scheme and even digital banking, that led to increasing of accessibility across our nation. Even in the rural areas also now, people they are using this Paytm or Phone Pay or Google Pay, right? So that is the thing which mainly said by our president. So because of this, that led to the overall growth of our economy. And this one is what is the importance of this banks for our economic growth? As I said, first one is investment. Next one is it will also helps to bridge urban rural divide. That is difference between urban areas and rural areas. And next one is we can also eliminate the poverty. Why? Because government will be doing direct benefit transfer to their bank account, so that we can minimize the intermediary or like corruption, everything. And this one here is it will also provides like timely loans for this agriculture, and even it will empowers micro, small and medium enterprises. So we have Kishi, Tarun and Shashi loans. Do you know this? Under which scheme? Under Mudra Yojana, right? So government is also providing loans for this businesses. And next one is government is also encouraging entrepreneurship and creation of jobs. And even RBI will come up with this monetary policy. What is this monetary policy about? Repo rate, interest rates. So through this monetary policy, what RBI wants to control? Prices. That is nothing but inflation. So we can also control inflation in the market through this banking sector. Okay, yeah, that is the thing. And even it is also facilitating habits like deposits, savings of the people through this banking sector. Okay, so do you know banking sector is contributing a lot to our economy? So how much? Any idea? So it is contributing nearly 8% to our national GDP because it is creating millions of jobs across our country. So in the banking, how many types of banks do we have? We have public sector banks, we have private banks, and we have small banks, we have regional rural banks, right? So all these banks, they are providing lots of employment in the service sector. So here they are also creating millions of jobs annually, and India is one of the fastest growing economies in this banking sector, guys. And next one is we are focusing on inclusive development, especially the marginalized group like farmers, daily wage earners, migrants. We are also bringing them into formal financial market. So actually these people, they used to get this money from money lenders, right? So they have to pay lots of interest, and because of that, that will lead to debt trap of that so and so family. So now if this banks are providing this credits, obviously we can make them formal financial transactions, and we can also reduce the debt trap on this people. And next one is digital transformation that we can see here, and even strong banks which also makes our Indian economy very robust against global shocks as well. And will be supporting fiscal and as well as monetary policy, so that that will lead to sustainable industries and as well as agriculture growth in our country. So this is about the importance of bank, and banking sector is very important, and every year you will be getting one mains question, guys. So focus on this area. And this year you will be getting question regarding importance of banks because of the statement which is made by our president. And say this article title says buried in rubble. So this article is talking about earthquakes. Earthquakes need not to be deadly if building codes are followed strictly. So this article is directly talking about whatever the point that we discussed in today's class, that is, especially to mitigate, to decrease the risk of this earthquake, we have to follow building codes. What are the buildings that we are going to build, or like what are the infrastructure we are going to develop? That infrastructure should be earthquake resilient. Okay, the same thing which said in this article. So in the introduction they gave about around 1400 people they died, and more than 3000 people they got injured, and they got magnitude of 6.3 earthquake yesterday, and today it is around 6 magnitude of earthquake. That is, yesterday one earthquake and today one earthquake happened in the same region. And this article is saying that, here just see this last paragraph. Okay, so here they said that earthquake magnitude of 6 is roughly 100 times more powerful than one of the magnitude 4 assuming similar depth of the origin, but there is no physical damage anywhere in Delhi. So Delhi is also the region where we have faults, and in that region also we can get earthquakes. But even though there is no damage in this Delhi region. And one more example they gave is Chile. Where is this Chile located? In which continent? Africa, na? In South America, right? So Chile is regularly having these earthquakes, but it is having a minimal infrastructure damage, and there will be no casualties in this Chile if there is any earthquake which is more than even 6 magnitude. That is because of this reason. The reason behind it is countries, they are focusing on commitment to enforce building codes. So if there is any infrastructure, if there are any housing, they have to for sure 100% strictly follow this building code. And earthquakes need not to be a death sentence, and Afghanistan must take the decisive steps to strengthen its building codes and they have to work on awareness on their enforcement of this building code. So this article is entirely talking about the building code, and they gave example of Delhi and they gave example of Chile. So these two examples that you can use in your answer whenever you are writing any answer regarding earthquake and how to mitigate the earthquake and what measures you have to take to control this earthquakes. So in that way you have to use this article. So please make a note somewhere. And even you have to add that point in your disaster management book where we discussed our earthquake topic. Okay, Chile and as well as Delhi. And you have to write about building codes. Clear? And now let us see the next article, guys. And this is the last article of the day. Title says, India needs more women judges in Supreme Court. So why we need more women judges in Supreme Court? What does that need? For gender equality. Next. Women empowerment, gender equality, for feminism, equal rights for women and men. Next. Separate. Next. Why we need women? Okay, the percentage of contribution of women to men is very, very low. So we have to improve that number. Next. So from which subject it is important? We are talking about Supreme Court, which comes under judiciary from polity GS paper 2. And we are talking about women, where we will be studying about women exactly in our society and social issues. From society and social issues also it is very, very important. And you can add this article whenever you are writing any answer regarding women empowerment, equality, gender equality. So wherever it is possible, you can use this data that we are going to see now. Okay? SDG. Okay, so this article is saying that women have comprised only 4% of Supreme Court judges since independence. Please make a note. So since independence, so only 4% of judges in this Supreme Court are women. Remaining 96% are only men only. So you can see how much gender inequality we can see here in this judges of Supreme Court. So here this article is saying that women remain severely underrepresented in this higher judiciary. So since independence, from last 75 years, around 276 judges worked under the Supreme Court. Out of this 276, only 11 were women. Only just 11 were women. Okay, so that's the thing which mainly said here. And at present, we have 33 judges in the Supreme Court. Out of that, 2 are women. So here also now in this 2025 also, there is no gender equality in this judges of Supreme Court. The Supreme Court Bar Association has formally urgent alleviation of more women judges for the fair representation of our Supreme Court. Why? Because we have to improve the public confidence in this judiciary. Because most of the times we will be getting cases which are gender sensitive cases. So in that gender sensitive cases, if women are not dealing with that cases, we can't enhance the confidence in the people. Yes or no? We can't enhance the trust. So for that, we have to improve the number of women judges in this Supreme Court. And what are the reasons why we need this more judges? Is first one is for the broader perspectives. Like women judges, they bring unique experiences that results in richer judicial reasoning, especially whenever the cases which are related to this gender bias or any gender, family and social issues will be tackled in detail by the women rather than men. That is the first important reason. And next one here is, yes, to increase the public trust and to improve gender diversity. Yes, court needs to have this more women population. And next one is having women on this bench, which motivates more women litigants. So women will come forward to file the cases if we are having more number of women judges in the Supreme Court. So that what happened? There will be more approaching of this marginalized women and their problems towards the Supreme Court. And next one here is female judges, they have shaped landmark rulings on women rights and social justice. So because of this, we need to have women judges for more inclusivity and as well as more sensitivity in this judgments related to women sensitive cases. And what is the impact of this? Obviously, we can improve inclusivity. We can go for gender equality and more representation of women. And especially we can consider the issues related to women and also minorities that will lead to fair outcomes from now. And next one is we can strengthen this public confidence, especially women can reach more and women can get justice for their problems more because of this increased women participation. And next one here is judicial innovation. So it is one of the innovation our judiciary, because till today only 4% of women judges they served in this Supreme Court. If we are increasing this, it will leads to a meaningful reforms in our judicial system. And this one is senior women judges, they serve as a role models, and even they will also inspire the next generation women lawyers, so that we can contribute to more gender equality in our society. So because of all these reasons, we need to have more women participation or representation in our Supreme Court case. So these are the important topics that happened in our today's in the newspaper. So by this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and please do like this class and share this class to your friends. And if you want to join here prelims cum mains foundation course, you can join at any time. We are providing both on online and offline. And if you have any queries regarding that course, you can contact us on this number 8074765513. Or else if you want to meet me directly, you can come to our office, which is located in Ashok Nagar, exactly above Vikas Book Center, second and third floor guys. Thank you so much.